was sitting and taking care of the dogs for my aunt. It was an old farmhouse, old as in the kitchen and bathroom were added onto the house when working plumbing first became a common thing. I played some video games, watched a little bit of TV just winding down to go to sleep, just laying there in the dark, trying to start to doze off, when I heard something coming from upstairs. The upstairs was an attic turned into bedrooms for my cousins. The best way I could describe it was like a pipe or a bottle or something. Some kind of hollow object rolling back and forth across the floor in the room directly above me. I sat there wide-eyed and scared out of my mind. Finally, I worked up the courage to get up and turn the lights back on. The rolling sound continued. I told myself it must just be something in the walls, trying to come up with any rational explanation. I got up to turn the TV back on and just kind of tried to drown out the sound. With the lights on, I noticed the dogs, 2 big Rottweilers, were sitting silently in the kitchen, hair bristling and staring right at me. I backed away. Honestly, I was afraid they were going to attack me for some reason. I realized, though, that they were not staring at me. They were looking past me at the door that goes upstairs. That did nothing to settle my nerves, but there was no way I was going up to investigate alone. I cranked up the TV, eventually coaxed the dogs into the living room, and after a while I was tired again. I left the TV on, just turned it down, laid back down on the couch, and got some shut-eye. I don't know how long I was asleep, just that when I woke up, it was still pitch black outside. What woke me up was the door. My feet were hanging over the arm of the couch I was sleeping on, and the door that led upstairs had come open and smacked against my foot. If you've ever lived in an old house, you'll know this kind of door. It's a very old door, the kind that's been warped from too many winters and rubs the frame when you shut it. The kind you would have to put your shoulder into to close it all the way and would really have to pull to open it once again. Yet, here it was, wide open to a pitch-black staircase, the hinges creaking as it bumped against my dangling feet. I was up and out in seconds, the dogs right behind me. I put my shoes on in the car, put the dogs in their kennel, and was off to sweet, sweet civilization. I didn't care about using all the gas to drive out and feed the dogs every day. I was not spending another night in that house. For me, there are 2 things I cannot explain. 1, when I was 14. The first week after my family moved into a new house, I woke up in the middle of the night to find a man staring down at me in bed. He was short, somewhat portly, perhaps Italian, older and balding. He wore a plaid shirt with yellow on it and blue jeans. I freaked out, of course, and hid underneath the covers while saying some prayers. When I finally peeked out again, he was just gone. Years later, as in 10 years later, I decided to tell this story to my family. At the dinner table, my dad suddenly turned white and asked me more questions about this man. Was he wearing yellow, blue jeans perhaps? I felt my blood run cold. Yes, he was. My dad then said he'd seen the same man twice, once in his master bathroom. He looked up in the mirror to find the man staring back at him, right behind him. And once in his master closet, he walked in to find the man just staring there, facing the clothing rack. Regarding the closet as well, I had a weird experience when I was maybe 18 or 19. I was in the master bedroom watching TV because someone was using the TV downstairs. I didn't like staring into the dark closet because I'm afraid of dark enclosed spaces like that. I got up to close it, pulled the door closed, but then the door was yanked out of my hand, and a male gruff voice demanded, "What?" As in, "What do you want?" It wasn't the TV either. I was watching the Weather Channel, and it had music playing on the forecast. I ran downstairs and told my mother what happened. I refused to go back into that closet again. The second house I lived in was a new subdivision on the shores of Lake Ontario, on land previously inhabited by the Iroquois native people. So when I was 3, we moved into that house. My dad had set up his weightlifting equipment in the back of the unfinished basement. One day, while he was bench pressing, he opened his eyes to suddenly find a native Canadian man staring grimly down at him, wearing animal skins and bird feathers. My dad freaked out, sat up and tried to say something, but when he looked around, the man was gone. A dorm at a local university had a student pass away of alcohol poisoning on his 21st birthday. There have been lots of reports of creepy things happening in the room he used to be in. Students reported tapping from the inside of the window, shoes being rearranged while they were out, and a loud scraping noise that came from upstairs. People upstairs thought it was coming from downstairs. Anyway, there's a youth sports camp that uses this dorm for a summer residence. I was a counselor, so I stayed in the dorm with the kids. I was assigned to stay in the room that the aforementioned student died in. I grew up in the same town as this college, so I knew all about the ghost and didn't really think anything of it. There's no such thing as ghosts, right? The only thing that looked different about the room compared to others in the dorm was that there was a crucifix. During my first week, stuff got weird. Several times I heard loud tapping from the inside of my window one night. I poked my head outside my door late one night and yelled, "Lights out!" to some kids running down the hall. My lights promptly turned off inside my own room. Finally, during a break at the end of the week, I went back to my room for a nap. I found my TV was on and the volume was extremely loud. I didn't think much of it. Maybe the kids had been playing video games in my room and forgotten to turn it off or something. I grabbed the remote, laid on the bed and hit the power button, but the TV stayed on. I took the batteries out, put in new ones, tried again. Still the TV was on. I finally walked up to the TV. I pressed the power button, but nothing happened. I turned the volume down, still nothing. I finally unplugged the TV, but it did not turn off. Totally freaking out, I unplugged the cable cord, thinking there was some weird surge through that was keeping the TV on. Nope. I sat there holding the TV power cord, the cable cord, and the remote, and watched my TV continue to play. I ran from the room and got another counselor and showed them. He promptly freaked out too, and we left the building to get the camp director. When he got to my room, though, the TV was off.